Alright everyone, we're back for another round of repairing the Milton Bradley Microvision. This thing has been a pain in more ways than one. From the first part of the video, we tried to get this operational by fixing the power switch, which the power switch is working now. If you recall, we just removed this reset button that someone had installed and linked in with the power switch. We got rid of the reset button and then we rewired the power switch, which it's making noise when you turn it on, so I'm assuming it's working. Outside of that though, we still have no image. Now I've did some research on these, and apparently the most common problem that these have is with the original LCD screen. So I did some research and I was able to find a website called voiceofthemummy.com that sells new replacement screens. The problem we have with this one is the amount of money that I paid for it. I didn't expect to get a lot of money back when we sell it, and now at this point, since I bought this new screen, the screen was $65 plus shipping and handling, which is not cheap. But if this isn't working, it might as well be a paperweight. I might have gotten lucky and been able to sell it for $5 or $10 for parts, but I had it on eBay. Nobody was even watching it or anything. So I figure at this rate, we might as well try to fix it. If nothing else, it can give you some insight if you're trying to do the same thing, where you can buy a new screen and go from there. Now, having said that, Voice of the Mummy, if you go to their website, they've got, or they at least had, a couple of different versions. They had this one, which is what we're going to replace as the regular LCD, and then they had a backlit LCD, which I think that would have probably been a little better, at least in my opinion, because you can see the screen a little better. However, he sold out of those, and now he's just got the regular ones left. And I don't know how many he's got left, but he said he don't have that many. And once they're gone type situation. So we're going to try to fix this thing today and see what we can do. Also on his website, he's got instructions. And I'll show you. He's got instructions that you can go to and go step by step to try to fix this. So that's what we're going to do. I've had it apart, obviously, to fix the switch, but I have not, up until now, messed with this screen. So we're just going to go per his instructions, step by step, and try to replace this. Another thing, this is the box that we got. I have cut the top open. I did because I couldn't remember exactly what was in this thing. So once I opened and I seen the screen, I knew what it was. But this is what you can expect to get. This little box here, and then inside you've got your new screen. Not much to it. And that's the way it'll go. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go step by step, exactly what he says to do in the instructions, and see if we can't fix this Microvision. Alright, first step. We're going to take out the cartridge that's currently in here, the Blockbuster. Set it off to the side. Then we're going to flip this thing over. We'll take off the battery cover. Remove our batteries. And then we're going to remove the 6 screws. So, one thing to note here, it does mention it on the instructions, is to set this with this knob hanging over the edge. And that's because if not, it'll push up inside and get things out of whack. And then we got to remove the back. Okay, the next step says to place the back to the side and note the wiring placement in the trowels. Take pics. So what they're referring to is the way the wiring goes down through the sides here and around everything. You want to make sure you put everything back together the same way to avoid potentially pinching a wire whenever you're putting the case back together. Okay, now it says to move the paddle wheel to the side and then slide out the keyboard paddle wheel plate, which is this little tray here that your batteries sit in. So we're just going to set this to the side. It says to make note of the speaker and the wire routing. Okay, now we have to remove everything from the inside. And it says note that the keypad, which is this part right here, could be stuck from adhesive, and that's what we've got. So we just have to be careful what we're doing here. Make sure that we can get this out without damaging anything. So this piece fell out. We had cleaned it before, so I think we're good with it. But this is basically where your cartridge is going to make contact with the pins, and then the lower pins will make contact with the console. So it looks like somebody's just put a piece of tape on the top of this to make it stick a little better. I'll hold it in place, but we got it. So we're going to set this off to the side. So the instructions is advising that we should take this apart and clean the inside with alcohol. So to do that, we're going to lift up these little tabs. Alright, now we need to remove these 4 screws with the Phillips head screwdriver. Alright, with the screws removed, the LCD tray will just come off like we see it here. Set that to the side. So, little tip here. I've decided to put on some gloves just to handle this and avoid any fingerprints. So you'll note, if you look at this, if I can get it in the camera right, you see how it's got a step on 2 sides are like that. So you got to make sure that the orientation of the new one you put in matches the old one. Okay. Okay, so we have to remove all the parts under here. We've got this piece. It says to remove the front polarized sheet, which is this, so we no longer need this, we can discard it. This is also not going to be used, so we won't use either of these pieces. But we will use this little piece of foam. So what I'm going to do, you guys, before we start putting this together, I'm going to give this a good cleaning with Windex. Alright, so I went ahead and cleaned this up real well off screen so that we got as clear as an image as we can possibly have. Now we will also need this piece here, this strip. You gotta just be real careful and you can separate it from the old screen like that. Okay, so supposedly there are some protective film sheets on both sides that we have to remove. There we go. So it says these are supposed to come off real easy, but we see how easy it is, and it says not to remove the polarized sheet. Well, nothing ever seems to work as easy as it should, so. There we go. We got it. Alright, so it says we need to clean off, this zebra connector. So I'm just going to go through with some alcohol and a Q-tip and give it a cleaning. So we've laid everything inside here. You notice, give you a close up, we've got the screen face down. We've got our zebra connector laying in here. And then the actual zebra connector, if you can see it, is underneath the screen. There's this little lip on the screen here. And then we've got this little foam pad here that goes over here on the edge. So make sure that I get that in there as good as I can. There we go. So one thing to note here, it says in the instructions to use a Q-tip and to press down through here just to make sure that it gets good contact. So there's a lot of notes in the instructions regarding how this fits, and it's saying if this plastic piece here is all warped, I guess it can do that over time from heat or whatever, and this thing isn't sitting well, you can use masking tape to shim up different areas to make sure this is level, but ours seems to be pretty good, so I'm going to leave it alone. Now we have to place our green foam on the back of the screen, like so. Okay, so now we are going to lay our main board back down on top, and there's little pins located on this plastic plate here, and we want to make sure that we get those pins lined up with the different holes on the board. Whenever we're doing this, we want to make sure that we don't bump this and move the screen around. It needs to stay in the position that it's in. So we just got to be careful and get this lined up as good as we possibly can. There we go. Okay. So we've got the pin here, and then one up here. So we got to make sure we get those lined up. Now we want to put our 4 screws back in so that this thing doesn't go anywhere. And I've got to hold it. So if you look, the way this is made, the connectors for the batteries hang down. So you have to hold this in your hand to make sure that everything stays put. Okay, a note to make is whenever you're dealing with old plastic like this is from the, I think, late 70s, don't put very much force on screws that are going into this plastic because it can crack. So I just snugged them up. I didn't, try to torque them down very much because I don't want to break anything. Alright guys, so we got this together. Now what we're going to do is reverse the steps that we initially did to take it apart and put this back together and test it out. Alright you guys, so here we are. We've got our Microvision back together, or at least we think we do. We're going to put some batteries in this thing, put a game in. Hopefully at least the game works. There's so many different variables in this, who knows. But we've got a couple of different games we could try if this one doesn't. So let's get some batteries in this thing. Alright, we got the batteries installed. Now we're going to try Blockbuster. Let's see what happens. Okay. Well, we can see the screen, so that's good. Let's see. There we go. Change the polarity a little bit so that this is a little bit easier to see. Let's see. So we've got power. We can see the screen, and it is making some sound, but everything seems to be kind of crazy on the screen. So let's do this. Let's turn it back on. We're going to turn this one off and we're going to try another game. Okay guys, so we're going to try out pinball and see what happens. Okay, so it's moving around. Balls. Well, the control seems to be working good. That's good. Just not real sure what we need to do here. Alright, at this point what I think I'm going to do is take some pictures of this, send it over to the Voice of the Mummy, get his opinion of what he thinks is going on with this thing and what I need to do to fix it.